Hello, I'm Jane Horner with Purdue Extension, and it is September and fall and makes me think of apples. And so today I'm going to show you how easy it is to make applesauce. And first I'm just doing the applesauce that I'm just going to make some to eat for lunch today. And so I just took a few apples and I peeled them and cored them and put them in a pan here with a little bit of water. And you're gonna have to watch because as they start to melt down, because we don't want it to scorch, so we might need to add some water. But then I'm also going to show you how we're going to take a bunch of apples and freeze them and how easy it is to make applesauce for your freezer. So I have these cooking here on kind of medium-high heat. If you're gonna have it hot like that, you're gonna have to stand here and watch them and stir them. But as you can see, as they're cooking, they start to break down. So some of you might wonder, oh, what kind of apples are you using? These are more of a tart apple that are from our tree. So you can use about any apple, like a Granny Smith apple. You probably don't want because it's so tart. You're gonna have to add a lot of sugar. But if you did like a Red Delicious or a Jonathan, you probably won't have to add very much sugar at all because they'll already be sweet. So you can see how I started out probably with a fourth to a half a cup of water. But you can see there that my pan's getting a little dry, so you'll need to add a little more water because I don't want it to stick and scorch as it goes there, as it continues to break down. So you can, the thickness of your applesauce depends on you. So sometimes when people cook it over their stove, they use more of a chunkier. I kind of like mine more of a sauce, so I'll kind of cook it longer. And then when it's done cooking, you can add cinnamon if you like a cinnamon flavor, which I do, and a little sugar if your apples are a little more tart. So there you go. If you just keep it cooking, it will break down and you will have your own homemade applesauce. Apples have really started to break down, so I'm going to turn my heat down and I'm going to add just a little more water. And I'm going to put it on simmer and just let it finish completely breaking down the apples. So after simmering for a little bit, here is my final product of my applesauce. So you can eat it warm or you can let it cool. Today I'm making applesauce. And first we've got our apples and we've already washed them and we're kind of like quartering them. And then we're going to put them in, cook them on the stove. So I have them here on the stove in this pot, and you're going to need a pot that's really pretty heavy on the bottom to keep them from scorching. And you're going to add water. And so I started out probably with an inch at least of water, and then have some in the tea kettle that you can add. So it looks like a lot, but once these start breaking down, it'll get thicker as we go here. And so you'll see, I'm going to show you, I'm going to run this in a food mill. And so I almost sometimes think, I don't know how people make applesauce without a food mill. Because the nice thing is, especially if you're doing like bushels of apples, and we're doing about probably just like 2.5 bushels today. But the nice thing is that this food mill, I'm going to be able to take the skin and the seeds out. And I'll show you that in a minute when these get ready to be run through there. So it's ready to go through the food mill. Once you can see it start breaking down into sauce. And then when you push on those apples that are kind of still soft, but they kind of fall apart, then you're ready to put it through the food mill. So here's our food mill. And so we're going to dump the apples up here, and then this we'll crank it, and you can see here there's like a little strainer in there, and then this wheel kind of is a rotary wheel, and so the seeds and the things I don't want are going to come out of this end, And over here, we'll have the applesauce will start coming out here. So, here we go. My assistant is gonna kind of pour it in there. Now be careful, this is hot, 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 like that. So it has this wheel here, and as we start to turn the wheel, it has like a little plunger that gets it going, and you can see there the applesauce is starting to come out. And then here is all the things I don't want in my applesauce. So you just kind of keep that. So I actually have a KitchenAid at home that has an adapter that you can do this. But the top, it doesn't hold as much. And so this is just easier. I'm doing this in a summer kitchen that's in my parents' basement. And so this one just works out better. Now, depending on how sweet your apples are, these are more of a summer apple, so they're a little tart. So in this batch here, I've added like a half a cup of sugar, but it's really to taste, so you may not need to add anything. Some people like to add cinnamon. And so I'm going to freeze my applesauce. So I'm going to put them in a freezer container, as you can see here. And so you want to make sure you have an actual freezer container, or else that's when it's gonna build up ice crystals. And so I'm gonna put it on there and let it cool, so I don't, before I put that lid on there for like 30 minutes, so that I don't have a bunch of ice crystals. You could take this then in turn and put it in jars and can your applesauce if you don't have a lot of freezer space.